What's good, ladies and gents? Welcome to the MKO Pugilism Boxing channel where we talk all things boxing. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, put it on all so you get notified of all the latest content as and when it drops on the channel. So let's get into this one. So lately, as you will know, we've got one of the hottest prospects, hottest what many people call a prodigy in Moses Itauma. And there's a lot of sparring stories that have been verified by various sources that this young guy, Itauma, is only 19 years old now. Apparently, even when he was a schoolboy, when he was younger, he was quite a big kid, and he was in there sparring with grown men, even from a young age. Guys like Joshua's name's been mentioned, Joyce's name's been mentioned also, and among others that Itauma's been sort of sparring and giving guys good work from very, very young age, from the time he was in secondary school. And lately he's come out and said that he wants Joyce, he wants the Juggernaut, who I believe they've shared rounds together in sparring. And Itama's pretty confident of beating him, and he's called him out to say that, look, I want to get that Joyce work next. And I just thought to give my thoughts on it. And to be honest, I think it's a tough one, and it's definitely going to be a step up from who he's been fighting. I mean, Joyce has a decent record. I think Joyce looks like he's definitely on the slide at the moment, but in his career of not that many fights, he's definitely been in there with some of the best fighters in the world. He's dealt with Daniel Dubois quite handily. He's been in there and stopped Joseph Parker. And he started tough, Joyce. Joyce was match tough from the very beginning because he's turned pro late. And at the moment, he's coming off of the loss against Derek Chisora, and the two losses before that against Zhile Zhang, and I think the last victory he had was against that Cash Ali, which is no great shakes really. So yeah, Joyce definitely looks to be slipping in terms of the form book, in terms of how he's been performing lately. He looks to be sort of on the decline. And as you'd think, Joyce anywhere near his best should be beating a guy like Derek Chisora, especially the current Derek Chisora at 40 years old, who's not what he once was. So, yeah, I think this is one of those where I haven't heard from, about what Frank Warren thinks about this. All we've got lately is basically that Moses Itauma, he wants to do this. And I think, personally, this could be a good move for him. But as many other, boxing channels and, respected guys in boxing have said, that this is a move where you can't really turn back from it and then go to fighting guys at a lower level. So this is one of those moves where I think if he's serious about trying to break Mike Tyson's record, then I think this fight would be a step in the right direction, because in Joyce, as I said, he's been discussed as a top 10 heavyweight at some time, even like, he was looking like the heir apparent. He's always looked a bit awkward and a bit clunky, but in terms of the victories he was getting and how tough he was matched early on, and he was a guy that was looked at as possibly a heavyweight champ. So it's one of these where it's a good fight for Itauma to prove himself, but at the same time, it's a dangerous fight because Joyce, yes, I think he's definitely quite slow and he's very one-paced and everything, but at the same time, he has got a good engine. He has done the distance multiple times, and so he's a good 12-round fighter who can really go the distance. And there's a lot of pitfalls possible here. For example, what does Moses Itauma do if he's peppering Joyce and hitting Joyce with lighting him up, and then Joyce doesn't go anywhere? Joyce doesn't go down. Joyce is still there after 6-7 rounds of being hit up, being sort of beaten up by Itauma. What does he do then when the fight goes longer? Does he run out of ideas? And I think this is one of them where it's a big test. I think you would, looking at the latest performances, looking at what Itauma done to Marius Wack, you definitely back Itauma to win this fight. But at the same time, it would carry with it a bit of a risk because Joe Joyce is a warhorse. He's a tough guy, and I think stylistically it does favour Itauma, but it's one of those where it is a big step up. And I think, but at the same time, as I said, if he's serious, if he really wants to become the youngest world heavyweight champion, then for me this would be a great way to step up. But after you take this fight, where I guess you would definitely be favoured to win, you'll then have to really, the opposition then really jumps up. I mean, others have mentioned guys like, you'd be looking at guys like Martin Bakole, because Martin Bakole's knocking on the door of a world title. You know, you'd be looking at guys like that. And I mean, depending on who wins, AJ versus Dubois, I don't know if he'd get a shot at the winner of that. But yeah, you'd have to be looking at guys like Bakole, Caballel, those guys that are on the fringes. You'd have to be looking at guys like Joseph Parker, and you'd have to try and strategically plot your route to a world title. But I think, yeah, it's one of those where, as a fan, I'd like to see him do it. I'd like to see him take on that challenge. I think he would be ready for Joe Joyce. He would be ready to beat him. But then the question marks would come sort of after the Joe Joyce fight. But, you know, can he deal with, you know, after Joe Joyce, who a bit shop worn, now you move up and you step up and fight the serious guys, the guys that are, you know, right on those fringes of winning a world title. And then the guys that are the world, do you think Fury, Usyk, with the winner of that, are they going to stick around for this next generation? But yeah, I think it's interesting, and I think it's good ambitions from Moses Itauma. Whether or not it will happen, I don't know, because I'm sure Joe Joyce will be clever enough to sort of see this for what it is if it does get proposed to him, and he'll want big money to fight Itauma, because Itauma's just a young prospect. And yeah, but nonetheless, I think it is a good move. And for me as a boxing fan, I want to see him go and try and break this record. I want to see him go try beat Mike Tyson's records. As they say, records are there to be broken. And yeah, I'm really interested to see what happens next. The Joe Joyce fight, as it's not signed, sealed, and delivered yet, but we know that Moses Itauma seems to have the desire for it. So let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. What do you think about Joe Joyce as the next opponent for Moses Itauma? Do you think it's too soon? Or do you, like me, think it's a fight that he can win? And I suppose you've got to throw yourself in there, throw yourself in the deep end if you really do want to break that record, and which I'd like to see him try it. I'd like to see him try it. I think he's got the skills and he's got the temperament to try it. He is very young. He's only 19, so who knows if he's ready for it mentally. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and until next time, it's MKO Pugilism over and out.